Now here in Mississippi, deputies in Yazoo County are investigating a deadly shooting in Yazoo City earlier this afternoon. Deputies found 33-year-old Cornelius Stuckey shot on Longwood Cove around noon today. Stuckey was rushed to the hospital by ambulance, where he later died from his injuries. Sheriff Jeremy McCoy says 2 men surrendered in the case. They're now being held at the Yazoo County Correctional Facility. Right now, their names have not been released.